getting people to sign on with their very fundamental core identity to this idea that torture, it's good for the country, it helps protect us, and all of these other lies that are despicable and outright immoral. And this is a pretty worrying trend. And I think the bigger thing to keep in mind for Americans specifically is that, of course, your country is being used by this three-dimensional chess oligarchy that I've been talking about in my recent podcasts, and is being discarded by the wayside now. I mean, the ire and opprobrium of the world is being focused on the dead husk of the U.S. empire, and you guys are being discarded like yesterday's newspaper. That's something to keep in mind when you see these types of stories, because this type of thing will come back around, whether it's next year or next decade or 10 decades from now. It will come back around, and I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not relishing it. The Pandora's box has been opened here, so I think we have to reject completely what went on, and let's do our part to make sure that this never happens again. But unfortunately, it's not just up to us.
James, the great trick, and we've talked about this before, that's been going on for now 6 years and counting here in the States, is that you have amazing left cover, that you now have phony progressives now saying essentially what you were just talking about on C-SPAN, probably well-meaning sides of all the sort of phony funded political spectrums, but you basically have the Democrats going to bat for this because it helps them make the case that, because our boy got Osama. And so you have them fighting for something that they wouldn't. And that, to me, that's the real sort of mission accomplished, if you will. So, James, there are some other interesting and maybe even esoteric geopolitical notes that kind of relate to all of this, because as all of this is going on, meanwhile, Obama and Prince William get to hang out during the hashtag royal visit. So not only did they meet with our dear leaders, but the UK royalty, William and Kate, also met US royalty, Jay-Z and Beyonce at a basketball game, which has increasingly become, I think, one of the biggest areas of sort of predictive programming and sort of elite showmanship, if you will. It was also Pearl Harbor Day, James, and as the awesome Lionel points out at Lionel Media on Twitter, Edward VII was critical in the Pearl Harbor deception. And I think we have to note that these eugenics-obsessed, inbred elites have been running these scams for a long time now. And as long as they have willing servants in corrupt intelligence outlets, I think we're going to continue to see things like George W. Bush, again, repeating the line that Clinton is, he's my brother from another mother. But this time he added that Hillary's like his sister-in-law, my sister-in-law, quote unquote. I think to wrap up, in a way, sort of the geopolitical shell game, chess game of war crimes, Amnesty International accuses Israel of war crimes. Israel calls it Hamas propaganda. So if you pull back in a way and look at a lot of this, you basically have a lot of spy versus spy, and it's a lot of showiness. And I think it's an easy transition, James, into our second story this week, which concerns, hey, what do you know? CIA agents causing chaos. But this time it's not real. It's just a movie, James. At least that's how it started out. James Franco and Seth Rogen have created a chain of events that is exposing Hollywood. And we can just grab this from the straight-up Wikipedia write-up about a new film called The Interview, in which Franco and Rogen have a popular tabloid TV show called Skylark Tonight, and they learn that Kim Jong-un is a big fan of the show, so they want to get an interview with him to legitimize themselves as real journalists. They're on their way to go to Pyongyang, and the CIA steps in, recruits them, and makes them try and perform an incredible mission: assassinate Kim Jong-un. June 20th this year, North Korea's unofficial spokesman, his name's Kim Myong-chol, he said, quote, get this, "There's a special irony in this storyline as it shows the desperation of the U.S. government and American society. A film about the assassination of a foreign leader mirrors what the U.S. has done in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Ukraine. And let us not forget who killed Kennedy. Americans. In fact, President Obama should be careful in case the U.S. military wants to kill him as well." So as this all started to happen, again, this is spilling out all over 2014, Sony, the studio that was making the film, worried they were going to get heat from North Korea, so they pushed back the film's release and started re-editing things within the film to kind of tone it down. Seth Rogen objected to toning down the edits on the film. And then, James, it really turned into a Hollywood thriller, like it was written by former Intel agents, like a lot of our favorite popular TV and action shows are. Sony got a massive hack attack. And this is when it spills into the sort of tabloid world. And now we're all poring over basically emails filled with nasty exchanges and insults and vaguely racist sniping coming from the highest parts of the entertainment industry, talking about the president, talking about other actors and folks involved. The interesting thing, maybe even the emails kind of show that the CFR's George Clooney may have predicted this as he's working on a new film called Hack Attack. Or possibly that the CFR's Angelina Jolie is a spoiled and talentless brat. So I think if you add Cosbygate on top of this, James, you got a lot of emperors with no clothes on, and these are the kind of things I try and I think focus on Media Monarchy. James?
Well, that's well put together, and it is an interesting tie-in. And I note that, as you say, that now, what is it? North Korea is now coming out and saying, oh, the U.S. can't even are torturing around the world. What are they doing? Trying to make stories about this. So it does. Again, it all comes back around in the geopolitical sense. But it's what a bizarre little story. And the bizarrest part about this is, just make up, I don't know, Best Koreastan or something. Why make it about North Korea? I don't know. Anyway, a funny story in many ways. And I don't even know in which level of the Matrix to place this, because there's so many layers of it going on here.
We don't really know who, at this point, we don't know who did the hack attack. They allegedly say, oh, well, there's maybe North Korean language within the text, but isn't that exactly what you would do if you were performing a virtual flag bit of...
Exactly, right. It's the Guardians of Peace, whatever that is. And wouldn't it be funny if that ended up being something... It was Seth Rogen who did it, so I don't know, to get back at the studio. I don't know. It's just a crazy story. But hey, sometimes when things happen at this level and we just get to see the messy results, sometimes that can be funny. If nothing else, and take some of these people down a peg or two. And as you note, CFR Angelina Jolie getting some of the flack. I'm not going to cry tears about that. So again, I'm just getting the popcorn ready and settling down for an interesting show.
I guess I enjoy, and again, media being my work, I guess I enjoy seeing it when the largest institutions are kind of ripped open and it's shown to be how kind of disgusting it is. Because if you do any bit of research, you go, oh, that's right. The entertainment industry pretty much has and always will be run by organized crime. And it's pretty well documented. So, James, that's a story I'll continue to follow on Media Monarchy. But let's move now to our third and final story this week that in maybe some way they all sort of relate, as we're wondering if all the world's a stage.